The Nexus conflict. The void of deep space stretched before Captain Elena Rodriguez like an endless canvas of infinite possibilities. The U.S. horizon cut through the inky blackness, its quantum drive humming with a subtle vibration that had become as familiar to Elena as her own heartbeat. 15 years of deep space exploration had taught her that the universe was always more complicated than any simulation or prediction could capture. Elena's fingers danced across the holographic interface, reviewing the latest astronomical survey data. Her crew of 127 had become more than just colleagues. They were a family forged in the crucible of interstellar exploration. Each member had been carefully selected not just for their technical expertise, but for their adaptability and psychological resilience. The ship's AI, Advanced Reconnaissance and Intelligent Assistant, interrupted her thoughts. Captain, detecting anomalous energy signature at coordinates 14 Delta 9. Patterns do not match any known stellar or technological emissions. Something about the way AIA phrased the statement made the hair on the back of Elena's neck stand up. In her years of space exploration, she'd learned to trust those subtle intuitions that couldn't be explained by raw data. Magnify, she commanded, leaning forward. The holographic display expanded, revealing a shimmering distortion in space-time. It wasn't like anything in Earth's astronomical databases, a complex geometric pattern that seemed to pulse with an almost organic rhythm. The colors defied conventional spectral analysis, shifting between wavelengths that shouldn't technically exist. Lieutenant Yamamoto, Elena called to her science officer. What are we looking at? Keiko Yamamoto's fingers flew across her console, multiple screens filling with rapidly changing data. It's complicated, Captain. The energy signature suggests a technological construct, but its quantum state is in continuous flux. It's like the object is simultaneously existing and not existing. Before anyone could respond, a brilliant surge of light erupted from the anomaly. The ship's shields automatically compensated, but the energy wash was unlike anything they'd encountered. When the luminescence faded, a massive crystalline structure hung in space before them, its geometry so precise it seemed almost mathematically impossible. A communication signal pierced through their systems. No sound, no visual, just a pure stream of mathematical language that ARIA began rapidly translating. Emergent species designated, humanity. The translation began. You have been observed. Evaluation commencing. Elena exchanged a look with her senior staff. First contacts were always delicate, but something about this felt different. This wasn't a traditional diplomatic approach. It was more like a clinical assessment. ARIA, respond with standard diplomatic protocols, she instructed. The A's response was immediate and precise, broadcasting Earth's standard first contact message, a compilation of mathematical constants, prime number sequences, and basic biological information designed to establish mutual understanding. The response was instantaneous. Mathematical comprehension confirmed. Biological parameters noted. Initiating comprehensive evaluation of species potential. The crystalline structure began to shift, its surfaces realigning in complex patterns that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Lieutenant Yamamoto gasped. Captain, it's scanning us, but not just externally. The scan seems to be penetrating quantum levels of our molecular structure. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. This wasn't just first contact. This was something else entirely. The aliens, if they could be called that, seemed more interested in clinical analysis than communication. Potential. Elena muttered under her breath. What exactly are you evaluating? Little did they know, this moment would mark the beginning of humanity's most critical test, a challenge that would push the boundaries of their species' adaptability, resilience, and spirit of survival. The Nexus Ultimatum. 48 hours after the initial encounter, the crystalline structure had maintained a constant presence near the U.S. horizon. Earth's top diplomatic and military experts had been in continuous communication, analyzing every microscopic detail of the alien presence. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood in the ship's strategy room, a holographic display rotating between multiple views of the alien construct. Her team, a diverse group of experts from various scientific and military backgrounds, looked equally perplexed and tense. "We've never encountered anything like this," Lieutenant Keiko Yamamoto said, her fingers tracing complex data patterns. "Their communication is purely mathematical, but it feels deliberate, like we're being evaluated for something." Suddenly, Arai's voice cut through the tension. "Incoming transmission." Switching to main display, the holographic screen transformed, revealing a geometric representation that seemed to be simultaneously a face and an intricate mathematical equation. When it spoke, the words seemed to form directly in their minds, bypassing traditional audio communication. "Humanity has been selected for comprehensive assessment," the transmission began. "Your species represents an anomalous variable in galactic evolutionary patterns." Elena stepped forward, her posture calm but alert. "We're listening." "What assessment?" The geometric pattern shifted, displaying complex simulations of planetary conquests, technological expansions, and species interactions. "The Nexus Collective maintains galactic equilibrium. Species are categorized: adaptive or obsolete. Your current technological state suggests potential, but potential requires validation." Lieutenant Marcus Chen, the mission's strategic analyst, leaned closer to Elena. "They're not asking for diplomacy. They're conducting some kind of species-wide test." The transmission continued. "You will be presented with a challenge. Survival or extinction will be determined by your collective response. Prepare for the convergence protocol." Massive holographic displays began populating with scenarios: ecological disasters, technological challenges, and complex strategic simulations. Each scenario seemed designed to push humanity's limits, testing their problem-solving capabilities, technological innovation, and collective resilience. "The challenge begins in 72 Earth hours," the transmission concluded. "Preparation is recommended. Failure is terminal." The room fell into stunned silence. This was no ordinary first contact. This was an existential test for the entire human species. Elena turned to her team. "We need to mobilize every scientific, military, and creative resource we have. Whatever this convergence protocol is, we're going to be ready." What the Nexus Collective didn't understand was the fundamental nature of human adaptability. When faced with extinction, humans didn't just survive. They transformed challenges into opportunities. Elena commanded, "Begin comprehensive global communication protocols. Every research facility, every military installation, every university, everyone needs to be prepared." As the U.S. horizon continued its silent vigil near the alien construct, humanity began its most critical preparation. The test of their species' worth had begun. The Nexus Collective believed they were the judges. They were about to learn that humanity wrote its own destiny. Technological resistance. The 72-hour countdown had transformed Earth into a hive of unprecedented collaboration. Research facilities that would typically compete now shared information with unprecedented openness. Universities, tech companies, military installations, and independent researchers formed a global network unlike anything in human history. Captain Elena Rodriguez found herself at the epicenter of this planetary mobilization. The U.S. horizon had become a mobile command center, coordinating efforts from multiple continents. Her team had expanded beyond traditional military and scientific boundaries, now including experts from fields as diverse as quantum computing, ecological engineering, and cultural anthropology. Dr. Aisha Kwizi, a brilliant quantum systems engineer, presented their first breakthrough. "The Nexus communication relies on mathematical predictability," she explained, revealing complex algorithmic models. "But humans have something they didn't account for: creative unpredictability." Her demonstration showed how human problem-solving could introduce chaos into seemingly rigid systems. By developing adaptive algorithms that could spontaneously reorganize their own logic, They created technological solutions that defied traditional computational models. Lieutenant Marcus Chen overlaid strategic projections. We're not just preparing to defend. We're preparing to demonstrate why humanity deserves to exist. The first test from the Nexus arrived unexpectedly. Massive energy disruptions began targeting global communication networks. Traditional infrastructure would have collapsed, but the teams had anticipated such attacks. Decentralized communication networks, inspired by mesh network technologies and indigenous communication strategies from around the world, began to activate. Instead of a centralized system, communication became fluid, adaptable, like a living organism constantly reconfiguring itself. They expected us to have a single point of failure, Dr. Kwesi said with a slight smile. We gave them 1,000 points of resilience instead. The Nexus response was swift and telling. Additional energy pulses attempted to destabilize critical infrastructure, but each attack was met with increasingly sophisticated counter-strategies. Power grids transformed, communication networks became more robust, and computational systems learned and adapted in real time. Elena watched the global response with a mixture of pride and intensity. Humanity wasn't just defending. They were evolving, right before the Nexus Collective's observational mechanisms. AI. She called to the ship's AI. Compile a comprehensive report of our adaptive responses. I want the Nexus to understand exactly what they're dealing with. The compilation wasn't just a technical report. It was a statement, a declaration of human potential. Each adaptive strategy represented more than technological innovation. It represented the collective spirit of a species that had survived ice ages, global conflicts, and countless environmental challenges. As the first phase of the Nexus test concluded, something profound became clear. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its technology, but in its ability to transform challenges into opportunities for growth. The Nexus Collective had come to judge humanity. Instead, they were about to receive an education in what true evolutionary potential looked like, the moment of transformation. The Nexus Collective's tests had escalated from subtle probes to increasingly aggressive challenges. What they didn't realize was that each challenge was inadvertently teaching humanity more about their own potential than any conventional learning method could. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the U.S. horizon, watching a holographic representation of global human responses. The ship had become more than a vessel. It was a living symbol of human adaptability. Every system had been modified, every protocol rewritten to embrace unpredictability. Dr. Aisha Kwesi approached with a breakthrough that would change everything. The Nexus communication relies on absolute predictability, she explained, but we've developed a quantum communication protocol that introduces controlled chaos. The protocol was revolutionary. Traditional communication depended on consistent signal transmission. This new system created communication channels that could spontaneously shift, merge, and redirect, making them virtually impossible to intercept or predict. Lieutenant Marcus Chen ran simultaneous simulations. We're not just defending, he said. We're rewriting the rules of engagement. The critical moment came unexpectedly. The Nexus launched what appeared to be a comprehensive systems attack, targeting global infrastructure, communication networks, and technological systems simultaneously. It was a test designed to overwhelm and demonstrate humanity's limitations. Instead, something extraordinary happened. Each attacked system didn't just defend, it transformed. Power grids didn't just maintain stability. They redistributed energy in ways that confused the attacking algorithms. Communication networks didn't just protect information. They created new communication pathways that the Nexus couldn't comprehend. Global research teams had prepared for this moment, drawing from disciplines as diverse as biomimicry, neural network design, and complex systems theory. They had created adaptive technologies that learned and evolved in real time. They expected a linear response, Elena muttered, watching the holographic displays. We gave them a multi-dimensional challenge. The Nexus attack began to fragment. Their precise, mathematically perfect assault encountered something they hadn't anticipated: human creativity. Each defensive strategy was less a fixed response and more a fluid, evolving counteraction. Dr. Kweezy's quantum communication protocols played a crucial role. By introducing controlled randomness into communication channels, they created a defense mechanism that was simultaneously everywhere and nowhere. "We're not just resisting," Elena announced to her team. "We're demonstrating that evolution isn't about perfection. It's about adaptation." The turning point wasn't a single moment of victory. It was a cascading series of transformations that showed the Nexus Collective something fundamental about humanity. Their greatest strength wasn't technological superiority, but the ability to transform challenges into opportunities for growth. As the attack fragmented, the Nexus communication channels began to change. No longer were they delivering clinical assessments. Something closer to curiosity, maybe even respect, began to emerge. Humanity hadn't just survived. They had redefined the very concept of resilience. The final test was coming, and the Nexus Collective was about to learn that judgment and understanding were two very different things. Beyond survival, the final confrontation wasn't a battle in the traditional sense. It was a moment of profound revelation that would reshape humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. The crystalline structure of the Nexus Collective began to transform, its geometric patterns shifting in ways that suggested more than just technological complexity. It appeared to be experiencing something close to emotional recalibration. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the U.S. horizon, surrounded by her team of scientists, strategists, and explorers. They had done more than survive. They had fundamentally challenged the Nexus Collective's entire paradigm of species evaluation. Humanity assessed. The geometric communication began, but the language was different now. Less clinical. More curious. Dr. Aisha Kweezy stepped forward, her hands moving through holographic displays that represented humanity's journey. "We are not a species to be categorized," she explained. "We are a continuously evolving system of potential." The Nexus communication matrices began to fragment and reassemble. What was happening wasn't just dialogue. It was a fundamental exchange of understanding. Humanity had proven something profound. Evolution wasn't about perfection, but about adaptability, creativity, and the capacity to transform challenges into opportunities. Lieutenant Marcus Chen analyzed the communication patterns. "They're not just listening," he whispered to Elena. "They're learning." The transformation was multidimensional. The Nexus Collective had arrived expecting to judge a species. Instead, they encountered a civilization that defied all their established metrics of evaluation. Humanity's response to their tests had been so fundamentally unexpected that it challenged the very foundation of the collective's understanding of intelligent life. Global communication networks, which had been developed during the crisis, now became something more. They weren't just defensive systems. They were bridges of understanding. Research facilities that had collaborated during the challenge continued their unprecedented cooperation, creating a global network of innovation that transcended traditional boundaries. Comprehensive revaluation initiated, the Nexus communication announced. But it wasn't a threat anymore. It sounded almost respectful. Elena understood then that they had achieved something more significant than survival. They had expanded the universe's understanding of what intelligent life could be. The U.S. Horizon's systems hummed with a new energy. Araya, the ship's AI, processed the communication with what could only be described as a sense of wonder. "We are no longer being tested," the AI announced. "We are being invited to participate." The crystalline structure began to reconfigure. What had once appeared as a threat now seemed more like an extended hand of communication. The Nexus Collective was offering humanity something unprecedented, a place in a broader galactic dialogue. "Not conquest," Elena said softly, watching the transformation, "but connection." As the final communication matrices stabilized, humanity stood at the threshold of a new era. They had not just survived a test. They had rewritten the very definition of potential. The universe, it seemed, was about to get a lot more interesting.